My name is Colby Varron, and I'm sitting in the back row of Roosevelt Elementary's auditorium, watching my wife deliver the performance of her lifetime. The fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across the assembled PTA mothers, their faces arranged in practiced expressions of sympathy as Zoya stands at the podium, dabbing her eyes with a tissue that appeared at exactly the right moment. "I do everything for this family," she says, her voice breaking just enough to sound authentic. "I manage the household, coordinate the children's schedules, volunteer for every school function. Meanwhile, my husband..." She pauses, letting the silence stretch like a professional actress. "My husband doesn't support our family, not emotionally, not practically. I carry this burden alone." The applause starts slowly, building to a crescendo of solidarity. Monica Sutherland, Zoya's best friend and the town's most successful real estate agent, leads the charge with enthusiastic clapping. Brenda Kaminsky, the PTA president, nods gravely from her seat in the front row. Even the school principal looks moved by this display of maternal martyrdom. I reach into my briefcase. For 17 years, I've been a forensic accountant with the Treasury Department. I investigate financial fraud, trace money laundering schemes, and unravel complex webs of financial deception. My job requires patience, attention to detail, and an ability to remain calm under pressure. These skills have served me well in my marriage, though not in the way I originally intended. 3 months ago, Zoya became a case file. It started with small inconsistencies, credit card charges that didn't match her stated activities, withdrawal patterns that seemed oddly regular, the faint scent of expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. As a forensic accountant, I'm trained to notice anomalies in financial behavior. As a husband, I hoped I was wrong. I wasn't. The bank statements in my briefcase tell a different story than the one Zoya is performing tonight. Every deposit for the past 17 months came from my Treasury Department salary. Every withdrawal, every expense, every dollar that keeps our family afloat originated from my work. But more interesting are the specific charges that coincide with Zoya's claimed independence. "I sacrifice everything," Zoya continues, her voice rising with practiced emotion. "While he sits in his office, I'm here, fighting for our children's future." The mothers murmur their approval. Several wipe their own eyes in sympathetic tears. This is Zoya's audience, her carefully cultivated support network of suburban mothers who see her as the perfect example of selfless dedication. I stand up. The room falls silent as all eyes turn toward me. Zoya's face goes pale, then flushes red. She clearly wasn't expecting me to attend tonight's meeting, much less participate in her carefully orchestrated drama. "Ladies," I say, my voice carrying easily across the auditorium, "I'd like to add some context to my wife's presentation." "Colby, this isn't the time," Zoya starts, but I'm already walking down the aisle, my briefcase in hand. "Actually, this is exactly the time," I reply, reaching the front of the room. "Since we're discussing family finances and support systems, I thought you might be interested in some actual data." I open my briefcase and remove a thick folder of bank statements, credit card bills, and financial records. The mothers lean forward, suddenly very interested in this unexpected turn of events. "Let's start with income," I say, flipping to the first page. "For the past 17 months, our household has received exactly one source of regular income, my salary from the Treasury Department. $68,400 annually, deposited bi-weekly into our joint checking account." Zoya's eyes widen. She clearly didn't expect me to have prepared such detailed documentation. "Now, let's examine expenses," I continue, turning to another section. "Mortgage payments, utilities, groceries, children's activities, school supplies, car payments, insurance premiums, all paid from my salary, all managed through accounts that I maintain." The room is completely silent now. Even Monica has stopped her sympathetic nodding. "But here's where it gets interesting," I say, pulling out a different set of statements. These are charges labeled as spa services and wellness treatments. 17 separate charges over the past 4 months, each one occurring on Thursday afternoons between 2 and 6 p.m. I hold up the first receipt. Four Seasons Hotel and Spa, couples massage service for 2, champagne service included. Total cost, $437. Zoya's face has gone completely white. Several mothers exchange glances, their expressions shifting from sympathy to confusion. Here's another one, I continue, enjoying the absolute silence in the room. Same location, same Thursday time slot, premium suite rental with spa services, duration 4 hours, cost $612. I flip through several more receipts, reading each one aloud with the same calm, professional tone I use when presenting evidence in Treasury investigations. Now, you might wonder who accompanied my wife to these couples' spa treatments, I say, pulling out another document. The charges were paid through Venmo to someone named Asher Trevon. According to his profile, he's a personal trainer who specializes in holistic wellness therapy for discerning clients. The murmur that runs through the room sounds more like a gasp than sympathetic support. Asher doesn't appear on the payroll of any legitimate fitness facility in the area, I continue, but he does maintain a very active Venmo account with some interesting transaction descriptions. Here's my personal favorite. Special Thursday session with my favorite client, followed by a heart emoji and a fire emoji. Zoya finally finds her voice. Colby, you're taking this completely out of context. Am I? I interrupt, pulling out my phone. Because I also have text message records showing coordination between you and Monica here about creating alibis for these Thursday appointments. Something about Pilates classes that don't appear on any gym schedule. Monica's face goes bright red. She starts to stand, then sits back down, clearly realizing that any movement will only draw more attention to her involvement. The total cost of these spa treatments over the past 4 months comes to $7,243, I announce. All paid from my salary, all charged to accounts that I maintain, all funding activities that I was apparently too unsupportive to be informed about. The silence in the room is deafening. Brenda Kaminsky looks like she wants to disappear into her chair. The school principal has quietly moved toward the exit, clearly wanting no part of whatever is about to happen next. So when my wife talks about carrying the family burden alone, I conclude, closing the folder with a sharp snap. I want you to understand exactly what that burden entails. 17 months of my salary funding, her Thursday afternoon appointments with a personal trainer who charges premium rates for services that aren't listed on any legitimate business website. I turn to face Zoya directly. Did I miss anything in my financial analysis, dear? She stares at me with a mixture of rage and terror, her carefully constructed martyrdom collapsing in real time. The mothers who were applauding her performance just minutes ago are now avoiding eye contact, gathering their purses, and whispering to each other. This meeting is over, Brenda announces, standing abruptly. We'll reschedule the budget discussion for next week. The exodus is swift and uncomfortable. Mothers file out of the auditorium without their usual post-meeting socializing, leaving behind an atmosphere of awkward embarrassment and shattered illusions. Monica approaches Zoya, but before she can speak, I hand her a copy of the text message records showing her involvement in creating alibis. I think you'll want to review these before offering any support, I tell her calmly. Monica glances at the papers, her face going pale as she recognizes her own messages. Without a word, she turns and hurries toward the exit, leaving Zoya standing alone at the podium. You have no right, Zoya starts, but I'm already packing up my briefcase. Actually, I have every right, I reply. These are joint accounts, joint assets, and joint responsibilities. As the sole income provider for this family, I have not only the right, but the obligation to understand how our money is being spent. I snap the briefcase closed and look at her directly. The performance is over, Zoya. The audience has gone home. Now we can have a real conversation about what happens next. She stares at me with undisguised hatred, her mask of martyred motherhood completely abandoned. This is the real Zoya, the one I've been living with for years while she performed the role of perfect wife and mother for everyone else. This isn't over, she says quietly. No, I agree, walking toward the exit. It's just beginning. The house is dark when I arrive home, which isn't surprising. Zoya's car isn't in the driveway, and given the evening's events, I suspect she's either at Monica's place planning damage control or at the Four Seasons having an emergency session with Asher. Either way, I have the house to myself for the first time in months. Our children, Allison and Jamie, are at my sister's place for the weekend. I arranged this deliberately, knowing that tonight's PTA confrontation would likely result in some form of retaliation from Zoya. 16-year-old Allison is sharp enough to understand what's happening in our marriage, and 14-year-old Jamie is sensitive enough to be hurt by the inevitable conflict. They're better off away from whatever comes next. I pour myself a drink and settle into my home office, spreading the financial documents across my desk like evidence in a federal investigation. Because that's essentially what this has become, a comprehensive audit of my marriage, complete with paper trails, digital evidence, and a growing file of documentation that would make my Treasury Department colleagues proud. The irony isn't lost on me. I spend my professional life investigating financial crimes, tracing money through complex schemes designed to hide illegal activity. Now I'm using those same skills to uncover my wife's affair, following a trail of credit card charges and Venmo payments that she apparently thought I'd never notice. My phone buzzes with a text from Greg Martinez, my college roommate who now works in IT security. He's been helping me gather digital evidence, though he doesn't know the full scope of what I'm investigating. Got those gym security recordings you asked about? Thursday footage from the past 2 months. Want me to drop them off? I text back, "Come over now, Zoya's out." While I wait for Greg, I review the timeline I've constructed. The affair started approximately 4 months ago, based on the first Four Seasons charge and the earliest text messages between Zoya and Asher. The pattern is remarkably consistent. Every Thursday afternoon, Zoya claims to have Pilates class or PTA committee meetings. Instead, she meets Asher for what they euphemistically call wellness sessions. The financial trail is damning enough, but I need more than receipts to build a complete case. In Treasury investigations, we always look for multiple forms of evidence: financial records, digital communications, witness statements, and physical proof. A cheating spouse investigation requires the same thorough approach. Greg arrives 20 minutes later, carrying a laptop bag and wearing the slightly uncomfortable expression of someone who suspects he's being drawn into domestic drama. "Before I show you these recordings," he says, setting up his laptop on my kitchen table, "I need to know what I'm getting involved in. Are you planning to do something that might get us both in trouble?" "Nothing illegal," I assure him. "I'm gathering evidence for divorce proceedings. Everything I'm collecting will be reviewed by lawyers and potentially presented in court. I need it to be obtained legally and documented properly." Greg nods, looking relieved. "Okay, that makes sense." I pulled the footage from the gym's main entrance and parking lot cameras. Asher Trevin has a membership there, but he doesn't work there officially. The manager says he sometimes uses the facilities to meet clients, but they don't have any record of him being an employee. He opens the laptop and starts the first video file. This is from 6 weeks ago, Thursday afternoon around 1:30. On the screen, I watch Zoya's car pull into the gym parking lot. She sits in the car for several minutes, checking her appearance in the mirror and texting on her phone. At exactly 2 o'clock, a muscular man in expensive workout clothes approaches her car. Even through the grainy security footage, I can see that this is Asher Trevin. But instead of going into the gym, they talk briefly, then both get back into their respective cars and drive away. "They're not going to the gym," I observe. "That's what I thought you'd find interesting," Greg says, fast-forwarding through several more Thursday recordings. Same pattern every week. They meet in the gym parking lot, talk for a few minutes, then leave together. The gym is just a convenient meeting point. He shows me footage from different angles, different weeks, all showing the same pattern. Zoya and Asher use the gym as a rendezvous point before heading to their actual destination, the Four Seasons Hotel. There's something else, Greg says, opening another file. I checked Asher's social media accounts. He's not exactly discreet about his lifestyle. Asher's Instagram profile is a carefully curated display of wealth and fitness. Expensive cars, luxury hotel rooms, designer clothes, and professional photos showcasing his physique. But more interesting are the subtle hints about his business model. Look at the captions, Greg points out. He calls himself a lifestyle consultant and wellness therapist. He posts a lot about helping clients achieve their personal goals and providing individualized attention to discerning women. I scroll through months of posts, noting the pattern. Asher clearly markets himself to wealthy, bored suburban wives looking for excitement. The Four Seasons charges make perfect sense in this context. He's running a high-end operation targeting women who can afford premium prices for discretion. How many other clients do you think he has? I ask. Based on his Venmo activity, I'd guess at least 6 or 7 regular clients, Greg replies. He's making serious money from this arrangement. This information changes my understanding of the situation. Zoya isn't having a traditional affair with someone she fell in love with. She's paying for services from someone who specializes in providing those services to multiple clients. It's more transactional than romantic, which somehow makes it worse. My phone buzzes with a text from Zoya. We need to talk. I'm coming home. Greg, you need to leave, I say, closing the laptop. Take this evidence with you and keep it safe. I'll call you tomorrow. He packs up quickly, understanding the urgency. Be careful, Colby. Don't do anything that could hurt your position in divorce proceedings. After Greg leaves, I return to my office and lock the financial documents in my desk drawer. I want to be prepared for whatever conversation Zoya has planned, but I don't want to reveal the full extent of my investigation yet. She arrives home 30 minutes later, her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. She's clearly been crying, but not the performed tears from tonight's PTA meeting. These are real tears of frustration and rage. How could you humiliate me like that? She demands, not even bothering with a greeting. I didn't humiliate you, I reply calmly. I provided factual information about our family's finances. If that information was embarrassing, perhaps you should consider why. You had no right to air our private business in front of the entire PTA. Our private business? I stand up from my chair, keeping my voice level. Zoya, you were giving a speech about how I don't support this family. You made our private business public the moment you decided to perform that martyrdom routine. She stares at me with undisguised hatred. Those receipts don't prove anything. Spa treatments are perfectly normal. I deserve to take care of myself. Couple spa treatments with someone named Asher Trevin? Her face goes pale, but she recovers quickly. He's my personal trainer. Sometimes training includes wellness activities. At the Four Seasons? For $400 per session? I don't have to justify my self-care routine to you. This is classic Zoya. Deflection, denial, and counterattack. She's not going to admit anything, even when confronted with clear evidence. But that's fine. I don't need her confession to proceed with my plans. You're right, I say, sitting back down. You don't have to justify anything to me, but you will have to justify it to a divorce attorney. The words hang in the air between us like a declaration of war. Zoya's expression shifts from anger to calculation as she processes the implications. You wouldn't dare, she says quietly. I filed the preliminary paperwork this afternoon, I reply, citing dissipation of marital assets and irreconcilable differences. My attorney will be serving you with papers next week. Her mask slips completely, revealing the panic underneath. Colby, we can work this out. We don't need lawyers getting involved. Actually, we do. Because this isn't just about the affair, Zoya. This is about financial fraud, deception, and a pattern of behavior that's been going on for months. I need legal protection for myself and our children. She tries a different approach, moving closer and softening her voice. Think about Allison and Jamie. Do you really want to put them through a divorce? Break up their family over some misunderstanding? I am thinking about them, I reply. That's why I documented everything properly. That's why I'm handling this through legal channels instead of confronting your boyfriend directly. That's why I sent them to my sister's house before having this conversation. The mention of documentation makes her stiffen. What kind of documentation? The kind that holds up in court. Financial records, digital communications, witness statements, video evidence, everything a forensic accountant would need to build a comprehensive case. She stares at me for a long moment, clearly trying to assess how much I actually know versus how much I'm bluffing. But I'm not bluffing, and my professional demeanor probably makes that obvious. This isn't over, she says finally, turning toward the stairs. No, I agree. But the performance part is finished. From now on, we deal with facts and evidence. She pauses at the bottom of the stairs. You're going to regret this, Colby. You have no idea what you're starting. Actually, I know exactly what I'm starting, I reply. I'm starting an audit, and I'm very good at my job. The Four Seasons Spa occupies the top 2 floors of the city's most expensive hotel, a gleaming monument to luxury and discretion that caters to clients who value privacy above all else. I've never been here before, despite paying for Zoya's regular visits, but the opulent lobby and hushed atmosphere tell me everything I need to know about why Asher chose this location for his business operations. I'm wearing a small recording device that Greg helped me acquire. Nothing illegal or sophisticated, just a basic digital recorder that will capture conversations for potential use in divorce proceedings. My attorney assured me that recording conversations I'm directly involved in is perfectly legal in our state, as long as I don't use the recordings for blackmail or harassment. The receptionist, a polished young woman named Tara, who clearly recognizes wealth when she sees it, greets me with professional warmth. Good afternoon. Do you have an appointment today? I'd like to book a massage with Asher Trevin, I say, using the same calm tone I employ during Treasury investigations. I understand he provides specialized wellness services. Tara's expression shifts slightly, becoming more guarded. Mr. Trevin isn't technically an employee of the spa. He's an independent contractor who sometimes uses our facilities for private clients. I'd need to contact him directly to check his availability. That would be perfect. Tell him it's regarding his Thursday afternoon client, Zoya Varron. I'm her husband, and I'd like to discuss continuing her treatment plan. The mention of Zoya's name causes a visible reaction. Tara's professional composure wavers, and she glances around the lobby nervously before picking up her phone. Let me see if he's available, she says, stepping away from the front desk to make the call. I use the opportunity to observe the spa's layout and clientele. The waiting area is filled with well-dressed women in their 30s and 40s, all carrying expensive handbags and wearing the kind of jewelry that suggests significant disposable income. Several are accompanied by younger men who could easily be personal trainers or lifestyle consultants. This is clearly a well-established ecosystem. The Four Seasons provides the upscale venue and discretion, while independent contractors like Asher provide specialized services to clients who can afford premium rates for personal attention. Tara returns, looking uncomfortable. Mr. Trevin can meet with you in 15 minutes. He'll be in the Serenity Suite on the 23rd floor. She hands me a key card and a small map of the hotel's upper floors. The elevator bank is to your right, Suite 2308. The Serenity Suite turns out to be a luxurious private room with massage tables, a hot tub, champagne service, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The setup is clearly designed for intimate encounters rather than legitimate therapeutic massage. Asher Trevin arrives exactly on time, and I have to admit that he fits the profile perfectly. Late 20s, professionally groomed, expensive casual clothes, and the kind of confident swagger that appeals to women looking for excitement outside their marriages. He's also clearly nervous about this meeting, though he's trying to hide it behind a facade of casual friendliness. "You must be Colby," he says, extending his hand for a shake. "Tara mentioned you wanted to discuss Zoya's treatment plan." I don't shake his hand. Instead, I gesture toward the sitting area near the windows. "Let's talk about your business model, Asher. I'm curious about how you structure your fees for these specialized wellness services." His smile falters slightly. "I'm not sure what you mean. I provide personal training and lifestyle consulting to clients who value individualized attention. At $400 per session, in hotel suites, with champagne service included?" "My clients appreciate a premium experience," he replies, but his voice has lost some of its confidence. Wellness is about more than just physical fitness. It's about creating an environment where clients feel valued and cared for. I pull out my phone and show him screenshots of his Venmo transactions with Zoya. These payment descriptions are interesting. Special Thursday session with my favorite client. Another amazing afternoon with Z. Thanks for the incredible workout, beautiful. Asher's face goes pale as he recognizes his own messages. Those are just friendly notes. I maintain positive relationships with all my clients. "How many clients do you have, Asher?" "I don't see how that's relevant to—" "I'm asking because I've done some research on your business operations," I interrupt, pulling out a folder of documents. "Based on your social media activity and financial transactions, I estimate you have 6 or 7 regular clients, all married women between 35 and 50, all paying premium rates for Thursday afternoon appointments." He stares at the folder, clearly realizing that I've done far more investigation than he expected. "Look, Mr. Varron, I think there's been some misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," I reply calmly. "I understand exactly what you do and how you do it. What I want to discuss is what happens next." I lean forward, maintaining eye contact. "Here's what's going to happen, Asher. You're going to stop providing services to my wife. You're going to delete her contact information, block her number, and refuse any future attempts at communication. You're going to disappear from her life completely." "I can't just abandon a client relationship." "Yes, you can. Because the alternative is that I share my research with your other clients' husbands, all of them, along with copies of your Venmo transactions, social media posts, and hotel records." The threat lands exactly as intended. Asher's confident facade crumbles, replaced by genuine fear. "You can't do that. It would destroy my business." "That's the point," I reply. "Your business model depends on discretion and the assumption that husbands like me won't investigate thoroughly enough to uncover what you're really doing. But I'm a forensic accountant, Asher. Investigation is literally my profession." I stand up, preparing to leave. "You have 24 hours to end your relationship with my wife. After that, I start making phone calls to other husbands who might be interested in how their money is being spent." Asher jumps up, his composure completely gone. "Wait, please. We can work something out. Maybe some kind of arrangement." "The only arrangement is the one I just described," I reply, heading toward the door. 24 hours, Asher. Don't make me come back here." As I reach the door, he makes one final desperate attempt. "You know she'll just find someone else, right? Women like Zoya, they don't stop looking for excitement just because you shut down one option." I turn back to face him. "Maybe. But that someone else won't be you. And they won't be using my money to pay for hotel suites and champagne service." The elevator ride down to the lobby gives me time to process what just happened. The recording device captured the entire conversation, providing clear evidence of Asher's business model and his admission that he provides more than legitimate wellness services. But more importantly, I've established a clear boundary and consequence structure. In the lobby, I notice Tara watching me nervously from behind the front desk. She clearly knows more about Asher's operations than she initially let on, and she's probably worried about potential fallout from this confrontation. I approach her desk with the same calm professionalism I've maintained throughout this encounter. Tara, I want you to understand something, I say quietly. I'm not interested in causing problems for the hotel or its staff. But if my wife attempts to book future appointments with Mr. Trevin, I'd appreciate it if you could let me know. She nods quickly, clearly eager to avoid any complications. Of course, Mr. Varron, we value discretion above all else. I'm sure you do. That discretion works both ways, doesn't it? She nods again, understanding the implied message. The Four Seasons built its reputation on protecting client privacy, but that protection extends to legitimate clients, not to covering up questionable business arrangements. My phone buzzes with a text as I'm leaving the hotel. It's from Zoya. Where are you? We need to talk about the children's schedule. I text back, handling some business downtown, home by 6. Her response comes immediately. What kind of business? I don't reply. Let her wonder what I'm doing and who I'm talking to. Uncertainty is a powerful tool in negotiations, and this has definitely become a negotiation rather than a marriage. The drive home gives me time to plan my next moves. Confronting Asher was necessary, but insufficient. He might agree to stop seeing Zoya, but that doesn't address the underlying issues in our marriage or the financial damage that's already been done. I need to think several steps ahead, anticipating Zoya's likely responses and preparing for escalation. My phone rings as I'm pulling into our driveway. It's Greg. How did your meeting go? He asks. Productive. Asher understands the situation now, but I think things are going to get more complicated before they get simpler. What do you mean? Zoya isn't going to accept this quietly. She's going to fight back, probably try to turn the children against me or rally her friends for support. I need to be prepared for whatever comes next. Do you want me to keep monitoring the digital evidence? Yes, but be careful. I don't want anything we're doing to compromise the legal proceedings. Everything needs to be obtained legitimately and documented properly. After ending the call, I sit in my car for a few minutes, looking at the house where I've lived for 12 years. It looks the same from the outside, but everything has changed. The marriage is over, even if the divorce isn't finalized yet. The question now is how to manage the ending in a way that protects our children and preserves what's left of our family's stability. Zoya's car pulls into the driveway behind me, and I can see her face through the windshield. She looks angry and determined, which means she's probably spent the afternoon planning her own counterattack. Time for round 2. Zoya storms into the house before I've even closed the front door, her face flushed with anger and something that looks like panic. She's been crying again, but these aren't the strategic tears from the PTA meeting. These are the messy, desperate tears of someone whose carefully constructed world is collapsing. You went to see him, she says, not bothering with any pretense of casual conversation. Asher called me. He said you threatened him. I had a conversation with him about business practices, I reply, hanging up my coat with deliberate calm. I wanted to understand what services I've been paying for. You had no right? I had every right. Those were joint credit cards, joint bank accounts, and joint financial obligations. As the person who earned the money being spent, I absolutely had the right to understand where it was going. She follows me into the kitchen, her voice rising with each word. You're destroying everything. Our marriage, our family, our children's stability. I'm not destroying anything, Zoya. I'm documenting what you already destroyed. There's a difference. I pour myself a glass of water, maintaining the same professional composure I use during Treasury investigations. Emotional reactions lead to mistakes, and I can't afford mistakes right now. Asher said you have recordings, financial documents, evidence, she continues, her voice taking on a desperate edge. What are you planning to do with all that? Whatever my attorney advises. This is a legal matter now, not a personal one. Legal matter? She laughs, but it sounds more like a sob. This is our marriage, Colby. 17 years together, 2 children, a whole life we built. You should have thought about that before you started building a second life with someone else. The words hang between us like a physical barrier. For a moment, Zoya looks genuinely stricken, as if she's finally grasping the reality of what she's lost. But the vulnerability passes quickly, replaced by the calculating expression I've learned to recognize over the years. "Fine," she says, her voice suddenly cold and controlled. "If you want to play this game, we'll play. But you're not going to walk away from this marriage with everything while I get nothing." I'm not trying to walk away with everything. I'm trying to protect what's left of our family's assets and ensure our children have stability during this transition. "Our children," she repeats, seizing on the phrase. "Let's talk about what this is doing to Allison and Jamie. Do you think they want to see their father destroy their mother's reputation? Do you think they'll thank you for humiliating me in front of the entire school community?" This is the attack I've been expecting. When confronted with evidence of wrongdoing, Zoya's standard response is to shift focus to the children and position herself as the victim of my unreasonable behavior. "The children are at my sister's place because I wanted to protect them from exactly this kind of conversation," I reply. "And they'll understand the truth when they're old enough to process it appropriately." Will they? Or will they just remember that their father was cruel and vindictive when their mother needed support? My phone buzzes with a text message. It's from Allison. "Dad, Mom's friend Monica posted something on Facebook about you and Mom fighting at the PTA meeting. Jamie saw it and he's upset. Can you call us?" I show Zoya the message. "Your friends are already involving the children by posting about our private business on social media. If you're concerned about their well-being, maybe you should start there." Her face goes pale as she reads the text. "I didn't tell Monica to post anything. But you didn't stop her either, and you certainly didn't discourage her from live streaming your martyrdom performance at the PTA meeting." I dial Allison's number, putting the call on speaker so Zoya can hear. My daughter answers on the second ring. "Dad, Jamie's really upset. Monica posted this long thing about how you embarrassed Mom in front of everyone, and some of the kids at school saw it. What's going on?" "Your mother and I are having some serious problems that we need to work through with lawyers," I say, keeping my voice calm and factual. "Some of our private business became public, and now we need to focus on protecting our family while we figure out next steps." "Are you getting divorced?" Allison asks directly. She's 16 and smart enough to read between the lines. I glance at Zoya, who's listening with growing distress. "That's a possibility we're discussing. But whatever happens between your mother and me, it won't change how much we both love you and Jamie. Can I ask you something honestly, Dad?" "Always." "Is Mom having an affair?" The question hits like a physical blow. Zoya gasps and reaches for the phone, but I hold it away from her. "Why are you asking that, sweetheart?" "Because some of the things Monica posted and the way people are talking, it sounds like Mom was doing something she shouldn't have been doing. And you found out and got angry about it." I look at Zoya, whose face is streaming with tears now. Real tears, not performed ones. She's finally understanding the full scope of what her choices have cost our family. "Your mother made some decisions that hurt our marriage," I say carefully. "We're working with lawyers to figure out how to handle the situation fairly and responsibly." "Okay, Dad. I understand. Jamie's still pretty upset, but I'll talk to him. We want to come home tomorrow if that's okay." "Of course. I'll pick you up in the morning." After ending the call, Zoya and I stare at each other across the kitchen table. The conversation with Allison has changed something fundamental in the dynamic between us. Our daughter's direct question forced both of us to confront the reality that the children already understand more than we wanted them to. "She knows," Zoya whispers. "Smart kids usually figure things out," I reply. "The question is whether we handle this like responsible adults or whether we let it turn into a public spectacle that damages them even more." "What do you want from me, Colby?" It's the first honest question she's asked since this whole situation started, and I consider my answer carefully. I want you to stop performing and start being truthful. I want you to take responsibility for your choices instead of blaming me for discovering them. And I want you to prioritize our children's well-being over your own reputation management." She nods slowly, wiping her eyes with a tissue. "And if I do all that?" "Then we work with our attorneys to arrange a fair divorce settlement that protects the children and allows both of us to move forward with dignity." "And if I don't?" I pull out my phone and show her a folder containing all the evidence I've gathered: financial records, digital communications, hotel receipts, video footage, and recorded conversations. Then I release all of this to support my case for primary custody and favorable asset division, and I let the other wives in town know exactly how their husband's money is being spent at the Four Seasons. She stares at the phone, understanding the implications. The evidence I've gathered doesn't just threaten her, it threatens Asher's entire business model and potentially exposes other women in similar situations. "You would really destroy other families just to punish me?" "I would provide factual information to people who have the right to know how their money is being spent. What they do with that information is their choice." We sit in silence for several minutes, both understanding that we've reached a crucial decision point. Zoya can choose cooperation and damage control, or she can choose escalation and mutual destruction. Finally, she speaks. "I need time to think about this, and I need to talk to my own attorney." "That's reasonable. But while you're thinking, remember that every day this drags out is another day our children have to deal with speculation and gossip at school." She nods, standing up from the table. "I'm going to stay at Monica's tonight. We can talk more tomorrow after the children come home." "Fine. But Zoya?" I wait until she's looking at me directly. "Whatever you decide, the affair with Asher is over. That's not negotiable." "I know," she says quietly. "He already told me he won't see me anymore. Said you made it clear that continuing would be bad for his business." After she leaves, I sit alone in our kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of 17 years of marriage. The house feels different now. Not empty exactly, but stripped of its illusions. The performance is finally over, and what's left is the complex work of untangling two lives that have been intertwined for nearly 2 decades. My phone buzzes with another text from Greg. Asher just posted on Instagram that he's taking a break from client services to focus on personal development. "Looks like your conversation had an impact." I smile for the first time in weeks. The audit is proceeding exactly as planned. The PTA meeting 3 weeks later takes place in the same auditorium where this entire situation began, but the atmosphere couldn't be more different. The mothers who once applauded Zoya's martyrdom performance now avoid eye contact as I enter the room carrying a plate of homemade chocolate chip cookies that Allison helped me bake yesterday evening. Brenda Kaminsky, still serving as PTA president despite her obvious discomfort with recent events, nods professionally as I take a seat in the front row. Monica Sutherland is notably absent. She's been keeping a low profile since several other husbands in town started asking pointed questions about their wives' Thursday afternoon activities. "Good evening, everyone," Brenda begins, her voice slightly strained. "Tonight we're discussing the spring fundraiser and reviewing the proposed budget for next year's programs." I raise my hand. "Before we get to the formal agenda, I'd like to address some recent changes in my family's situation and how they might affect our participation in school activities." The room falls silent. Several mothers exchange glances, clearly uncertain about what I'm planning to say. "As most of you know, my wife Zoya and I are currently going through divorce proceedings," I continue, maintaining the same calm, professional tone I've used throughout this entire ordeal. "The process has been handled through proper legal channels, and we've reached a preliminary agreement that prioritizes our children's well-being and educational stability." I stand up, pulling out a folder of documents, but instead of financial records and evidence of infidelity, this folder contains custody agreements, school contact forms, and volunteer schedules. Effective immediately, I'll be serving as the primary contact for both Allison and Jamie's school activities, I announce. I've updated their emergency contact information, medical authorization forms, and transportation arrangements. I'll also be taking over Zoya's volunteer commitments for the remainder of the school year. Brenda looks relieved to be dealing with practical administrative matters rather than personal drama. Thank you for keeping us informed, Colby. We'll update our records accordingly. I also wanted to address any concerns about my continued participation in school activities. I continue. I know the circumstances of our separation have generated some discussion in the community. I want to assure everyone that my focus is entirely on supporting our children's education and maintaining positive relationships within the school community. I gesture toward the plate of cookies on the table beside me. Allison and I made these for tonight's meeting. She wanted to contribute something to show that we're still committed to being part of this community, despite the changes in our family structure. The gesture is simple but effective. Several mothers smile genuinely for the first time since I entered the room. The cookies represent normalcy, stability, and a father who's actively involved in his children's lives, rather than the disengaged husband Zoya portrayed in her original performance. "That's very thoughtful," says Mrs. Patterson, the school librarian who's always been kind to both my children. "How are Allison and Jamie adjusting to the changes?" "They're handling it remarkably well," I reply honestly. "We've been very open about what's happening and why, while still maintaining appropriate boundaries about adult matters. They're both continuing their regular activities and maintaining their friendships. What I don't mention is that both children chose to live with me full-time rather than splitting custody with their mother. Allison made this decision after reading the divorce filing and understanding the financial deception involved. Jamie followed his sister's lead, though he's still processing the emotional complexity of the situation. "Will Zoya be attending future PTA meetings?" asks another mother tentatively. "That's entirely up to her," I reply. "Our divorce agreement doesn't restrict either of our participation in school activities. We're both committed to co-parenting effectively, regardless of our personal relationship status." This is technically true, though Zoya has shown little interest in school involvement since the initial PTA confrontation. She's been focused primarily on damage control within her social circle and finding new housing arrangements. The meeting proceeds smoothly from there, covering budget discussions and fundraiser planning with none of the tension that characterized previous gatherings. I volunteer for several committees, demonstrating continued commitment to the school community while establishing my new role as a single father. Afterward, as mothers file out of the auditorium, several approach me with genuine warmth and support. "If you need any help with carpools or after-school activities, please don't hesitate to ask," offers Mrs. Chen, whose daughter is in Allison's grade. "Single parenting can be challenging, and we all need to support each other." "I really appreciate that," I reply. "Allison and Jamie have been incredibly helpful with managing schedules and household responsibilities. We're finding our rhythm as a smaller family unit." Mrs. Patterson stops by the cookie table, which is now empty except for a few crumbs. "These were delicious. Allison clearly inherited some baking skills. She's been teaching me, actually. Turns out I have a lot to learn about the domestic side of parenting." As the auditorium empties, I pack up the empty cookie plate and gather my paperwork. The contrast with that first confrontational meeting is striking. Instead of public humiliation and evidence presentation, tonight featured practical cooperation and community integration. My phone buzzes with a text from Allison. "How did the meeting go, Dad?" "Very well. Your cookies were a big hit. Several people asked about you and Jamie." "Good. Jamie and I are working on homework. We'll have dinner ready when you get home." The drive home gives me time to reflect on how dramatically our family dynamic has changed over the past month. What started as a financial audit of suspicious expenses has evolved into a complete restructuring of our household with surprisingly positive results. The children have adapted to the new arrangement with remarkable resilience. Allison has stepped into a more mature role, helping manage household tasks and providing emotional support for her younger brother. Jamie has become more communicative, perhaps because he no longer has to navigate the tension between his parents. Most importantly, the atmosphere in our house has become genuinely peaceful for the first time in years. Without the constant undercurrent of deception and performance, we can focus on authentic relationships and honest communication. Zoya has moved into a small apartment across town and maintains regular contact with the children, though her involvement in their daily lives remains limited. She started therapy and claims to be working on understanding her choices and their consequences. Whether this represents genuine growth or another performance remains to be seen. Asher Trevan disappeared from the local social scene entirely after our Four Seasons confrontation. His Instagram account went dormant, and several of his former clients have quietly ended their wellness arrangements. The ripple effects of his business model's exposure continue to impact other marriages in our community, though most couples are handling their situations more privately than we did. As I pull into our driveway, I can see Allison and Jamie through the kitchen window, working together to prepare dinner. They're laughing about something, and the sight fills me with a contentment I haven't felt in years. The audit is complete. The balance sheet shows significant losses: a 17-year marriage, financial assets, social relationships, and the illusion of family stability. But it also shows unexpected gains: honest communication with my children, authentic community relationships, and the freedom to build a life based on truth rather than performance. I walk into the house where my children are waiting with dinner and homework questions and normal teenage concerns that have nothing to do with spa treatments or personal trainers or Four Seasons hotel suites. "How was the meeting, Dad?" Jamie asks, looking up from his math homework. "Productive," I reply, hanging up my coat. "Very productive." The story ends here, with cookies and homework and the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. No dramatic confrontations, no revenge schemes, no explosive finales. Just the steady work of rebuilding a family on a foundation of honesty instead of deception. Sometimes, the most effective audit is the one that simply reveals the truth and lets people make their own decisions about what to do with that information. The numbers don't lie, the evidence speaks for itself, and the balance sheet always balances in the end. Case closed.